Zok Tehillah Gemara. Loi Yelamed Adam Revach Sefer. A single person should not be teaching children. Rashi tells us Revach is Panli B'la Isha. Sefer means Malamde Tenoikis. He shouldn't be a cheder Rebbe. Kloimer Lo Yargel Revach Atzmoi Liois Mina Sefer. He shouldn't count himself amongst the ranks of Malamdim. Uvi Gemara Mefarish time. The Gemara will explain why. V'chein, going to the next line of the Mishnah. V'loisilmad Isha Sefer. A woman shouldn't teach young children. So not only a Revek, someone who was never married, but even someone who was once married but currently does not have a wife. The Gemara Mefarish, I'm sorry that I let the cat out of the bag. Isha lo yilamet sefer. A woman shouldn't generally be teaching young children. Rabbi Yehuda lo yira Revek behema. A person who never got married shouldn't be a shepherd. Rashi says that shaloi yisavela v'lo yishnu shnei ravakim metalas achas, and two bachrim shouldn't be sleeping together, as Rashi says shaloi vohu b'dei mishkav zocher. V'chacham matirim because shaloi nechshegu b'mishkav zocher u'behema. A Yid is not chashud in Mishkav Zachar, nor is he chashud on Mishkav Behema, and therefore you don't have to have these chumras. So a Revek, a single person, would be able to be a shepherd. Zoktimur, my time. Rashi says, my time lo yilamed Revek Sofer. If you're going to say, if you're going to say we're chayshidem to be molesters, Vatanya Amrulay Rabbi Yehuda, they told Rabbi Yehuda, Loy nechshedu Yisrael al mishkav zacher v'lo el abehema. Rashi says,
sometimes even married people shouldn't be teachers.
So you're bringing up a very good point. The last three words at the top of the Amud was Hakoy l'shem Shemayim, and that was allowing someone to be mishtamish with an isha, provided that it's not l'shem ishos, it's just to be nice. So when it comes to these halachas, it's clear from the Gemara that it all depends. If you have to look at it, if it's something that could be an issue, you got to keep them far, far, far apart. We're talking about mainstream. Amar la Rabbi Yehuda the Masnisen, they told Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah, the Amar la Yishnish ne Rabbakim B'talas Avos. Right, that's what Rabbi Yehuda said. So they told Rabbi Yehuda, how could you say that? L'nech shedu Yisrael mishkav zacher v'lo el abehema. El Revek, you know why a bacher shouldn't teach children? Mishum Amasa, the Yanuki, because of the mothers that bring the children to school. Imaysem Shaltinaikes Akrashi, Shematsuyis Aslai, Lahavias Benem Alesa Sefer. He's going to, by default, have an interaction, a lot of interaction with the mothers who are bringing their children to school. And that's where the problem is. Okay, and that's why a single woman shouldn't be teaching small children once again, because she's dealing with the fathers who are bringing their children to school, and that's where there could be an improper relationship. So it's not al mishkav zocher; it's because of standard yichud. Okay, Zok to Gemara. Rabbi Lazar Aimer af misha einla ibaylu misha einla isha klal. Doesn't mean someone who doesn't have a wife at all. That Rabbi Lazar says, Af Mishain Isha shouldn't teach. Does that mean he doesn't have a wife at all? Mashal, he's an alman. What if his family lives in a different town and he's commuting and he lives in this town? So she's not with him. Zok Rashi, Mishain Isha Klal, Umoisiv ad Tanakama. He's adding to the Tanakama the Ka'amar Revek Shloi Nasi Isha Miyomov. But what if he has a wife? She doesn't live with him. She's traveling on business. Would that be mutter because he has a wife? Dilma, since his wife is not with him, we still have to be choshed.
What about the particular woman teacher? We're talking about a married woman first.
Thank you, Monty. Thank you so much. What?
A woman teacher, we're talking about a married woman too.
You mean, a Revek means she was never married. That's what the word means.
It says Rebbe?
Yeah.
It doesn't say Rebbe.
Oh, it just says Salam and Isha. So it's mashma. Generally, a woman wouldn't be able to. That's right. That's a good point. It's mashma, yeah, no matter what. And that's probably because we're worried about the men.
Yeah.
We're about the men coming onto her, right? Oh, these men, you can't trust them. Tashma. So we have a Furish Brisa that says, and we're assuming that's the shot in Rebbe Lozer, Ein Lo Isha means if it's Ein Shuri Etzloi. Yehuda Lo Yira, he shouldn't even be a shepherd. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yehuda Lo Nechshedu Yisrael Al Mishkav Zachar V'Leil Abahema, and therefore the Tanakama argues on Rabbi Yehuda. Zok Tehelig Gemara. Zok Tehelig Mishnah Vayit. Kol Shasakav in Noshim. A person whose job makes him be involved on a daily basis with women. Lo Yisyachad im Anoshim. He shouldn't have a yichud with women. Zok Rashi. Kol Shasakav im Anoshim. Shemelechas Nusoi Nasis L'Noshim. Anoshim Shrichas Lo. I don't know if he's a shetelmacher. I'm not sure. Not sure what. Oh, right. So we have a shoe store, and all mothers coming in. So the whole day he's dealing with women. Lo yisyachlim anoshim, afilim harbe anoshim. Even if there's many women, normally one man can be miyachad with many women. But if he's someone who's very comfortable with women and he's always dealing with them, he may not be miyachad even with many men because he's very comfortable with them. And they will, since they all have a relationship with him, they'll help cover his crime. But a regular person, bein shtei noshim would be allowed to. No, but that he cannot have yichud with. But someone who has a daily relationship with women, he can't even be miyachid with multiple women. Let's see Rashi. Pirish Mekutris. Afilim noshim harbe. Zok toisus v'dafka roichel. That's dafka if he's a roichel. If he's a peddler, he goes from house to house. But a regular person who doesn't have a daily dealing with women, he could be miyachid with 3 or more women. We had yesterday, if there's a kodesh and a kodesh kodeshim, and the men were in the kodesh kodeshim, and the women were in the kodesh, we said there that we're choshid mishum yichud. Mashur the ashul yisyachid im noshim marbe luchulam. When it says noshim ibechutz, how many women are we talking about? It seems like it doesn't matter how many women. Nevertheless, we still have a problem with a one man going amongst them. And there, it doesn't say there in particular that we're talking about a specific man that has a familiarity with women. Any man. That means even ishta imoy. So the Mishnah here is saying that even ishta imoy lo yisyachirim anoshim, because we hold even a regular person is not allowed to be miyachid even with many women. So normally, but if he's a roichel and he has a relationship with many women, that's more chomer, and even with his wife, we won't allow any type of yichud, even with many women. Okay, now we have a very. I'm sorry, but in those days, the teacher was the whole school. Nowadays, there's no yichud at all. It's a big school, so I don't know if it would apply today. I don't know if it would apply to. Normally, a malamed taught privately in your house, or he was just one person. There was no principal. There was no division heads. Right? Now it's all very public. But again, we have to ask a rabbi. I mean, obviously, everyone passes it would be allowed, because who are the teachers? Mostly the single girls, and mostly the. Single men aren't teachers a lot, but you do find it, right? So, okay. V'lo yilamed adam es benoi umnus. Now, there's a machlokes how to read this. If you're in Lakewood, it's v'lo yilamed adam es benoi umnus, period. Yeah. But others learn v'lo yilamed es benoi umnus hanoshim. You shouldn't teach your son an umnus that's going to make him be involved with women. I'm sorry? Rav Meir Omer, you should teach your son a clean and easy umnus. I'm not sure which one is that yet. Before I speak Gemara, Shopper, the Gemara is going to explain it good. What?
Point.
V'al yomer, a person shouldn't say, V'al yomer b'liboy, a person shouldn't say in his heart, I can't do this. Nobody makes money in this fach. Umnesu einim asheres. Rather, do the right umnus, and then el yavakesh rachmim l'misha oisher shaloi. V'yispalel l'misha oisher v'anachosum shaloi. He should dive into the Rebbeinu shaloi she'ein umnus she'ein ba'aniyas v'ashiris. There is no umnus that you don't find people who are very poor and not successful. Yet in that same umnus, you could find people who are fabulously wealthy. Shaloi aniyas mina umnus v'loy ashiris mina umnus. How much money you have does not depend on whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or a garbage collector. Well, actually, a garbage collector probably makes more than the doctor and the lawyer because he's unionized, right? It's all the schus of a person, and there are those who change it. I'm not sure if Rashi does, but I saw somewhere who says hakoy lefi schusoi. Toisus pirush lefi mazoloi. So it's not according to how many mitzvahs you do; it's your mazel. The bani v'chay u'mezoyne lav b'schus atali milsa, not telling you schus, ale b'mazel atali milsa.
Give up and it's your mazel.
No, yidin are the mazel and the mazel.
I don't know, but you're supposed to say it's not.
It's saying you shouldn't make a decision about what you're going to do based on how much money you're going to make, because no matter what you do, you can become fabulously wealthy in any profession.
The exclusive can overpower you.
Yeah. So we'd have to understand exactly what toisus means, but
Or you get a really good fusion.
but that's also told as massive. That's also told massive, right?
Yeah, someone told me that he wants flown up the tush. I want to tell us the tush really cleaned it up. Told me he's going to get back to flying, and he said that year, two results have died, and he was the only year. And I'm also
So you should tell this story to Minster. Okay, Zok to Gemara. Rav Shimon Elazar Omer. The is. Rav Shimon Elazar Omer. Ra'isa miyamecha. Tell me something. Did you ever see in your life? I mean, nowadays we have cartoons, so it takes away the geschmack of the Mishnah. But did you ever see in your life chayiv ha'oif sheish lam umnus? Did you ever see a chayiv ha'oif that a ever saw a bird brain? I saw a bird brain who was a lawyer, but I never saw a bird who was a lawyer or a chaya. You ever saw something like that? So nowadays you see on cartoons, they're everything. But you ever see a chaya ha'oif lesson hummus? Hey, misparshin shalai b'tzar, and they don't seem to struggle of how they're going to survive. They all seem to make a good living. Why were chayos and oifos created? To be mishamish the other. And I was created to service my master. So why is it that we have such a difficulty with parnasa? They seem like it comes to them naturally. Eino din. So shouldn't my parnasa also come easy? Ella shayraiti maisai. My maisim were no good. I didn't behave the way I was supposed to. The kapachti is parnasasi, and I'm responsible for messing up my parnasa. So I guess you could mess up your muscle, right? It's totally muscle. You can mess up your muscle. Isn't it interesting that the Mishnah doesn't say anything about a behema? Did you ever see a behema as a doctor or a behema as a lawyer? So there are those who learn that behemoths do work. They're trained to plow fields, right? So domesticated animals often have a job and they work hard 9 to 5. So that's why the Mishnah didn't use behemoths as an example. Abba Gurion, Ish Tzadyon, Omer, he said as follows: Mishum Abba Gurion, Lo Yelamid Adam Es B'noi. A person shouldn't teach his children the following professions: chamor, to be someone who drives a donkey. Chamor, so he's basically like a big rig driver, right? Truck driver. Gamal, that's someone who does long distance trips. So chamor is more local.
Chamor
Gamol, okay. Kador, someone who makes pot, someone who has a pot shop, not to be confused with a pot shop today. Potter, yeah, potter. Safon, a captain of a ship. roya, a shepherd, v'chenveni, or a storekeeper, shem nusan umnus listim. There's a lot of theft and dishonesty involved in these professions, right? So let's see Rashi. So Rashi Bali Kronois or Bali Kdorim, I believe it says in the Tzionim. Kol elu umnus listios. All of these jobs lead to theft. Why? Kishalonim bedrachim. When these people, being that they're traveling long distance, so they sleep on the side of the road. So they need fuel, they need things. So hem nechnosim v'loiktim eitzim in akramim upeiros. They tend to raid the fields around them and take things that aren't theirs. So that's why these are things that by nature lead to listius, because that's what they do. They're always taking from people. Often they're making contracts with people to transport people and things from place to place, and they often don't make their deadlines, or they don't deliver fully on what they said they would. So that's why it's gneva. Roya, behem and shaloi. We're talking about not a paid roya, rather we're talking about a roya who is shepherding his own animals. Shemavir and lirois besad b'steacher. Sometimes you're going to let your animals graze in other fields, like Loit did. Why is a storekeeper considered a malach of listios? Melumid bayna lahatel mayim biyayin tzroiros bechipim. He's always going to try to get an edge in business. So he'll water down the wine, and you might not notice. He'll put some small pebbles into the flour. That's how people increase their margins, and that's why it's not a good business to be in. There was a shaila that was brought to Reb Zilberstein, and I always forget the name of the sefer. Reb Zilberstein is a sefer with shailas that are relevant to the daf. So a shaila was brought to Reb Zilberstein about an exterminator. An exterminator did a job for somebody, got rid of certain pests, and he gave it a 1-year warranty. Meaning, if these pests show up within a year, I will fix it. I will get rid of them on my tab. Sure enough, 6 months later, the infestation came back, and the homeowner calls the pest control guy and tells him it came back. She says, "No problem. You talk about a warranty. I'm really tied up today, but I will be there. I'm going to send somebody down." The next day, no one comes. So he calls again. "I'm Yankel. I have a warranty. Please come and take care of the infestation." Again, because 100 times coming, it's a crazy day. I'll be in tomorrow. And this went on for like a week. And then the guy called from a different phone number and said, "My name is Beryl. I have a problem. Can I hire you to come fix my house?" And so that he shouldn't have its warranty. And then 2 hours later, he had beautiful service. It was all cleaned up. When they presented him the bill, he said, "Sorry, I'm Yankel and I have a warranty." So I guess he didn't help. So the shaila was, is that a right thing to do? Are you allowed to do that? So Rav Zolshin says, "Avadi, you're allowed to do that." Because in essence, what you're doing is you're saving this guy from being a ganav. Because as a business person, he's a ganav. You're allowed to save him from being a ganav. If you benefit from as a side, so that was the shaila that he had. So I told the story over to my wife, but I told her over the story if it was an air conditioning guy. So what if like someone fixes your air conditioner and the next day it's broken, and you call him back and he keeps on pushing you off, and then so she asked, "Who did that to you?" I said, "Nobody." But I wanted to know if it was the right thing to do. So Rabbi Zoshin said you're allowed to do it. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Abba Goria, because that's who we're quoting over here. Hachamorin Ruban Rishoyim. Chamorim are mostly Rishoyim, and Rasha's Mishum Listia, Mipnei Listiais. Vagamolin Ruban Kisher. Most of them are kosher. Why are most of them kosher? Because they do long haul trips, intercity. Zokrashi Shaparshan Midbarais, Lamokim Gedudi Chayis, Belistim, V'Yereim L'Nafsham, they're always afraid because they're in the wilderness, and therefore Meshabam Libam Lamokim. They daven. It's like the very famous story with they were waiting in Gan Eden, they were waiting to get into Gan Eden. There was a Rav and there was a taxi driver, an Israeli taxi driver. Everyone knows the story. And they took the taxi driver in B'Chavod Gadol straight into the highest level of Gan Eden. And the Rav, they said, we're full today. We don't have any room for your child. We're full. We'll get to you. So he says, what are you talking about? I'm a Rav. I was speaking so many people. I said, sir, when you spoke, people slept. When this guy drove, everyone said Krishma and Tehillim. So he was actually prompted more Hashem. So that comes from this Mishnah. That's like Gamalim Arum Ksherim, because they're always in danger and therefore they're always davening. They're always thinking about their Rebbeinu Shalom. There are no atheists in the foxhole. Hasapanim, people who are captains of ships, Ruben Chasidim, they're even more holy. Why? Shaparshin Lamakai Masakana. They're in the high seas. The Tamid Hein Barada, Yosy Simon. It's a lot more scary to be on the open sea than it is to be in the wilderness in between cities. Here's Shmuel's Gemara. The best of doctors, Ligehenim. I'm going to go to Gehenim. Why is that? Zok Rashi. He's not afraid of sickness, and therefore he's not always doing tshuva. And he eats healthy foods because he knows what he should eat. And therefore he's not always davening because he thinks he's got it under control. Sometimes he actually is killing people because he's given out. He's maybe making wrong prescriptions. Sometimes he has a client who doesn't have insurance, so he doesn't take him, and he could have saved someone's life, and he didn't. That's why Toiv Sheberoifim Ligehenim.
That's sign the vote for the
Shmuel wants me to read. Shmuel, which one do you want me to read? The story with Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld? Yeah, I'll look at the story. Shmuel says a very good story here. But when Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was sick, he was treated by a certain doctor with great self-sacrifice. Night and day, this physician was on call to do everything in his power to help him get well. Once this doctor asked the Rav, Rabbi, I really cannot understand the Mishnah in Kiddushin, which states that the best of doctors go to Gehenna. Is this a fitting reward for a doctor who gives all and faithfully treats his patients with skill and caring? The Rav smiled slightly and replied, this is not the meaning of the Mishnah. Surely the fate of a doctor is not predetermined to Gehenna. Rather, this is an exhortation to the doctor regarding his approach to his patients. He should not expect that they are in the serene state of those who feels connected to Gan Eden. On the contrary, the life of a sick man is a living hell, and it's into that place that the best doctors must be willing to venture to treat the severely ill. On another occasion, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld explained why this could not be taken literally. Does not the Gemara say that saving one Jewish life is like saving the entire world? When Rabbi Aaron of Belz was in Pest, a certain doctor wished to see him, but was brusquely, I don't speak English properly, brusquely, I don't know how to pronounce it, rebuffed at the door by the Gabbai. It is not a good time to see the Rebbe now, he claimed. When the Rebbe asked him what that was all about, the commotion, the Gabbai answered, some doctor, so the Rebbe jumped up, Chas v'sholem, the Rebbe said. You do not understand Pshat of the Gemara. Chazal tells us of the great self-sacrifice of the best doctors. While treating their patients, they feel like they stand on the brink of Gehenna, since one bad move can cause damage to. For care, the doctor is terrified. Every move he makes is because he knows one wrong move that could kill the patients. The Rebbe immediately ordered that the doctor be found and ushered in to see him. So if I get to tell you what the beginning means, a good doctor always thinks of what Gehenna his patients are going through, and Adarabba, they're good. Okay, so doctors aren't so bad after all. Okay, so let's see the Gemara weiter. Okay, so the Gemara weiter. The Akasha said the Bach, where's Tzvi when we need him? The Akasha says to the Tabachim, even the most kosher of the butchers, a Shutvai Shal Amalek is the Shutv Al Amalek. What's Pshat? Tav Shabbat Tabachim, because Sveika Trefus boys Liyadoi, he always has the paskin on Suffolk Trefus, the Chos Al Mamoina. If he shechts one of his animals, he wants it to be kosher. He's very negabadover, and therefore Machilon, sometimes he might be Michael, some tarfus, because he doesn't want to destroy the value of his animal by saying that it was a treif. Rabbi Nahiroi Omer. Now it's brought down that Rabbi Nahiroi is Rabbi Meir, Lashon light, right? That's important to note because here Rabbi Nahiroi says Meniach ani kol umnus sheba'olam. I'm going to get rid of every umnus. Every umnus I'm not going to deal with. Ve'eni melamed es b'ni ala Torah. Torah is the best of schools. So ich will nicht lernen Gunish from my kinder. I'm only going to teach them Torah. She'adam oichel mischora ba'olam hazeh. A person enjoys the schar of Torah ba'olam hazeh. Va'karen kayemes lo l'olam haba. But v'shar kol umnus einon kein. Don't work that way. Kishadam bala de chayli, oil de zikna, oil de yisurin. When a person can no longer work, ve'ena yachal lasik b'malachtai. Hareyu meis barov. He's going to die of hunger. Avol Torah einon kein. Elam shamartoi. Mikol ra, it protects a person from any bad. Benarusai when he's young, and then when he's able to be oisik properly in Torah. Loya acharis v'tikva b'ziknusai, and it gives him hope and a future even when he's old. Benarusai ma'oimer. It says v'koivei Hashem yachlifu koyach. People who turn to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, who yearn to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, they'll have regenerated strength. And b'ziknusai ma'oimer. Even when they're old, they're going to enjoy the Torah. It says Avram Zaken, Hashem Berech es Avram Bakoil. Even though he was old, he had everything. So the Lulina strikes again. Matinu she'asa Avram Avinu as Kol HaTorah Kula. We find that Avram Avinu was Makayim Kol HaTorah Kula. Ad Shaloi Nitna, even before it was given, except for Bris Milah. Shenemar Ekev Asher Shoma Avram Bakoili. Yishmar mishmarti mitzvosai chukoisai v'soyroisai.
So it's not the same as Yonis. It's only because. Yeah.
Let's see Rashi. Ava Torah enekein she'af habol de zikna or yisurin ve'ni yochel asak ba still who oichel mimatan schora tichsev oidi nuvan b'seif. So there's a little bit of a problem here because Reb Meir at the beginning of our Mishnah says quite clearly. And then later on, Reb Nahiroi, who we say is Reb Meir, said only teach him Torah. So, are you supposed to teach your son an umnus kal nakiya, or should you only teach him learning? So, the Mefarshim explain. Look at the lashon of Reb Meir at the beginning of the Mishnah. La'olam yilmad adam as benoi umnus nakiya v'kala. A person should teach his child. Umnis Nikiva Kala. But then Rabbi Neroy came along and he said, Meniachani Kala Umnis Shaboilim, Ve'eni Melamed as Beni Alatayra. Meaning, the Hamoy Nam, normal person, you have to teach him an Umnis, so you should have Pranasa. Beni, Punkt Rav Meir said, I happen to have a son who's such an unbelievable boy, and he's such a tzaddik, and he's cut out to stay in learning his whole life. For such a person, for Beni, for someone like my child, there you could be Meniach as Kala Umna Shabba'olam, Beni Melamed as Beni Ala Torah. But a normal child, Avada, you have to teach him a Malacha Kala Nakia. That's right, that's the Samad Abishita. Only people who are Zoichel. Yeah. Okay. Zok to Gemara. Tana Rabbanan. Kol Shasokov Imanoshim. Anybody whose business makes it that he's dealing with women on a regular basis, surei ra. What does it mean surei ra? Rashi mean hagoi ra. His minig is bad. Kervusai ra. His closest is bad. L'shtadol imoi sheyesar elov uva lebeisai. Basically, he since he's friendly with them, it's not hard for him to set up a relationship, set up a visit. Kagoyin, what are examples of people who are going to have too much to do with women in their pranasa? Surfing, Raishas Surfei Zav, Ha'ismal Noshim, Shirayin, Nizam V'Tavois, he makes jewelry. So women flock around him. Okay. Vasrikim, Srikim are Surk Begodim Lenoshim. He combs Begodim, he I don't know, he's some type of a malacha where he prepares Begodim for them. Vanakairos, Rashi says, Armanakne Rechaim Shal Yad. He would clean out the hand grinders that women have. He was a dishwasher.
No, the sharpener. That's the sharpener.
Menak is to clean. We're talking about a hand mill. are peddlers, but they sell moichin kishute b'somim l'nashim. They sell perfume, right? You know that I work in the perfume department. Gardiim are weavers. Saparim, I think saparim are barbers. They take their kids to the barbers. Vakoivsim and the washers. Vagara, Rashi says umin hamakis dam. The umin who bloodlets. Hashem shemigareya adam. He's called a gareya because he reduces the amount of blood in someone's veins. Va'abalon, a balon is someone who warms up the bath. He's the bath attendant. Bursagi is someone who prepares hides, ma'abed lehem oires, lil boish, to wear linen oil and to have for shoes. So these are not good professions. Abal and Rashi is out of order. Mecham merchatzois, he warms up the baths. Ein mamida mehem, from such people you shouldn't set up loy melech, not kings, but loy kohen gadol. You shouldn't make a kohen gadol. My timer, loy mishum de psili. It's not because we say they're puzzle. What they do is not a kovadik thing, and it's not appropriate that he should become a king. We don't want someone to tell the king, I remember when you were warming up the bath at the mikveh.
Come on.
That's right. Tanu Rabbanan, Asar Dvarim Nemru Bigara. So there's 10 derogatory things said about someone who does bloodletting. Mahalach al tzida, he walks on the side. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it's a very gaividic way of walking. What?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure exactly what it is. But it's called walking on the side. To me, walking on the side is if you can't get in between the two chairs because you're fat, you turn on your side to get through. So I'm not sure what that means. V'ruchai gasa, he has a very gaividik attitude. V'nitla v'yoshev, he doesn't sit on a regular bench. Only if it has a back or an armrest. He's a best of the guy. He doesn't just sit on a regular chair. V'neitzor is a karga chazer. Why? Because he's always used to mooching off other people because he served a meal with the person who he's servicing. So he's always getting a free lunch. And because of that, he could never kargzich to buy his own lunch. Everyone's talking about if when Trudeau gets thrown out of office, is he also going to pay for his lavish vacations that he was billing to Canadians up until now? So that's what I mean. Someone who's used to living off everybody else is usually a karga because he doesn't know how to spend his own money. He doesn't forgive. Oichel harbe eats lot of moitzi kima, and Rashi will explain to us what that means. V'choshid al harayis, he's choshid on the harayis. V'al hagezel al shvichas damim. Okay, Rashi explains why. So let's have a look. The first three things: mahalach al tzidei ruchi gasa v'nitla v'yoshev shloshen simonei gaiva. These are all simonim of abal gaiva. Abal ein zu doim lazu. They're all different things. They're all different features. Uv'chulan hu choluk mimidas haksherim. In all these things, he's different from a kosher mensch. Nitla v'yoshev means eino yoshev elam kev nismach. He will not sit unless he can lean on something. So there has to be either a backrest or an armrest. Derech gaiva uv'shvil sharbrius moishu nafshin l'yodoi. Since people literally trust them with their lives, who must go? He's balgaiva because he thinks he's important. You know why? He never wants to spend a penny of his own money. Normally, before people do Akaz's dam, they have a healthy meal. So he joined them. So he's always used to eating off everybody else's tab. He's not malumid. He doesn't know how to give tzedakah. He doesn't know how to spend money. One of the Reichman Adams told me that whenever there's a lot of people that when the money comes to them, they'll say, "I'm giving for my whole family." So one of the Reichman told me that whenever a mashulach would go to a shver, his shver would send the mashulach to him, and then he would call him up and he would tell me, "Pliny, you have to give at least $100." This is going back 30 years ago. So he told me, I'm not going to give him all that money because I don't have a choice. All my money comes from my shver, so I have to give it. So my shver literally trained me to give, and he told me how much I have to give. So it should become in my DNA. So these fellows are the opposite. Ain't it sorry because they don't know how to give.
And they give.
Nice and enough bibriim shichalu. Just like anybody who's a mechanic hopes that your car breaks down, anybody who is a makis dam wants people not to feel well, so they'll come to him and use his services. He eats a lot because at all his clients he eats. Since he eats high quality food, because of that, you don't have so much refuse because you're eating pure foods. Generally, before Akaza, they serve a healthy meal. A healthy meal will be Mamayat Zevel. Why is that? They all need him. So he has a strong level of comfort with them that he can do things that are inappropriate. Because women take money from their husbands that they're not allowed to, and they give it to him. I'm not sure if they give it to him stam or if they give it to him for a cause's dam, because they want his services and they can't pay. If he lets out too much blood and they remain with less than the revis of blood in their system, which is the minimum amount of dam that someone could survive with, he's a murderer. Dorish bar kapar lo'olam yilamed adam es benoy umnus nekiya v'kala. Mahi, what's a malacha nekiya v'kala? Omer Rabbi Yehuda said, Machta de Talmiyusa. Teach him how to be a seamstress. Rashi says, Machat Talmiyus is brushtayr balaz, shatfiris asuyos plomim plomim. Normally seams are done in rows. Shuroi kitlomim shomachreisa. That's a malacha kala nekiya. To be to someone who could sew well. Tanya Rabbi Omer Eilach umnish oiverish min oilam. There is no such thing as an umnus that's no longer needed. Shebetelam min oilam. Bein shi nekiya, bein shi meusa, yesh batzarech. Bim lo yilam dan azeh yilam dan ach. So Rabbi said every malacha is needed. So therefore, sometimes even if it's not such a geshmaka malacha, people need to know it as well. Therefore, lucky is the one who has training from his parents in a geshmaka umnis, because therefore therefore he'll have an umnis and he'll pass on the umnis. If his parents do something that's a geshmaka thing, kalu nekiya, so he'll learn it from his parents and he'll pass it on to his kids. And woe is to the person who his father taught him not a malacha kal nekir. That's what he's sort of going to be resigned. The world needs a boisem, which is a moicher b'samim, uvelay bersiki. But we all b'samim is geshmak tisel. It smells good. Bersiki is someone who's a tanner of hides. That's a smelly job to do. But we need both. Therefore,
you do it with the soy of clothing. That's why it smells.
We need both. The world needs both male and female. And the way this is explained is, lucky is the person whose male children act like males. And woe is to the person whose male children act like females, and meretnish about the nonsense that goes on nowadays. It means if his boys are boys who want to learn Torah, they don't want to be busy with tiflus. That's the person who's lucky. Someone who have boys who takas to learn. I'm sorry. With
regular percent. That people want schar when they don't want to.
Because he says Pashup shot. Okay. You should be the lucky one who have the sons.
It happens to be harder to bring up boys.
Uh-huh.
But it says over here that the girls you always
So with boys it's easier.
In Israeli half, we're going to time and everything. But we're going to go, no, but come after mistakes. This is this to the Medina.
Reb Meir says, "La'olam ilamed adam levnoi umnis nekiya v'kala, v'yivakish rachamim lemisha oisher v'nachasim shaloi, shein aniyas v'na umnis, v'en ashirs v'na umnis, ela lemi she'oisher shaloi to the Rebbeinu Shalom, shenemer liya kesef, liya zov, no'um Hashem tzavakos." Gewaltig. Zogt the Gemara weiter. Shimon Loz Omer. In Ve'isim and Mechad, you ever see an animal that has to work for a living? Tanya Rab Shimon Loz Omer. Miyomel Arisi Tzvi Kayitz. I never saw a deer who's a kayitz, meaning miyabish ksias besada. Did you ever see a deer putting out figs to dry in the sun? The arisabel. Did you ever see a lion who is a courier? Vishul Chavani. You ever saw a fox who was operating a store? They all have their parnasa. They seem to be very chilled. And the animals were created to be mishamish mankind. Ma elu shloi nivru ela l'shem sheni misparnish and shloi b'tzar. V'anisha nevrasi l'shamish eshkoini einay din shesparnish shloi b'tzar. Shouldn't I have easy parnasa? Ela shari oisius maisai. I did averis. The kipachti is parnasasi and I damaged my own parnasa. Shenemar avoyne seichem hit.
We see it by Udom Edition. He had everything. That's what happened. The Udom Edition had everything. And
Rabbi Nero Omer Meniach Ani Kol Umnus. Tanya Rabbi Nero Omer Meniach Ani Kol Umnus Shabbayim. I'm going to forget about all other umniyos. Ve'eni melamed es b'niyah l'Torah. Shekol Umnus Shabbayim Einay Medes Loi Elabi Meyal Dusai. They only there for him when he's young. If he can't continue doing his work, he doesn't have an old age pension. In those days, they didn't have pensions in those days. I made it loy la'adam be'shaldusoi when they send us loy achrayis v'tikva be'es zeknusoi. Let's see Rashi. Kol umniyos ein lo matan schar lachashman. They don't have residuals. When you're working and you're producing, that's when you have schar. El schar motzilam b'shaita. Aval Torah matan schar bo me'elov la'erich yom. There's residuals. He still benefits from his earlier career.
so even the people that have money, what some can link is in it.
Yeah.
But the machine took out against land.
You can always learn. No, but the Gemara says even if you can't learn anything, even if you can't learn,
fresh.
Yitzamchu tzemach v'yisyachet scharon la'esev vason. The schar of the learning will be there to help them when they're older. Shenim v'arnanim you. Okay, we'll stop here because I don't want to finish the last line of the Masechta.
This no great thing.
So we have 3 minutes, so we could probably learn the first mission about the Kama. The problem is I didn't prepare a Gemara. About the Kama? So, what's that?
You want like my seat? No.
I want to. So let's see the head of the Mishnah. Arba Avos Nezikin. There are four main categories of Nezikin: Hashor, Vabor, an ox. A bor is a pit. Mave, the Gemara learns. The Rashi is mefarish, but Gemara will be a discussion of the Gemara. Vahever and fire. Lo yarei Hashor karei Mav. These 4 categories have individual characteristics that are not comparable to one another. For instance, Loyari Ashar Korea Mava. Shor is not like Mava, Veloyari Mava Korea. Shor. Veloy Zevazeh Sheesh Ben Ruachayim. The Shor and the Mava are both dealing with live things, a live animal or a live person. They're not like Ha'esh, Korea Eish, Shein Ben Ruachayim. Fire is inanimate, it's not life, it doesn't have life. Veloy Zevazeh Shadar Kan Leilach Ulahazik and Sai Eish. Shor and Mava, they go to the victim to damage. By the bor, the victim comes to it. It's stationary. So what do they all have in common? They're derech to be mazik. And you are responsible to watch them, to protect them. And if they do damage, then the mazik has to pay the mate of ours. Okay, we'll stop here. And we'll Sunday. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Right.
That if somebody ashames somebody else,
right,
so he doesn't. So he heals him because he gets all the virus and he gives him all his mitzvahs.
Right.
So he's the best doctor. But he himself again, that kind again.
I hear. I heard a very nice shot on. Vosabes is by the chayis to have it easy, make parnasa. And that's because there's different levels of creations. Doimim Tzemei Chai Medaber in Yisrael, and in each level each level wants to become the next level. So a doimim wants to get up on Madrega. So the doimim wants to stel to the earth wants to stel to that the plant should grow, because that's mal of the doimim. The plant wants to become a chai, so he wants to be eaten by the animal. So therefore, the reason why the animal has it easy, The reason why the animal has it easy to make parnasa because the tzemeich stellt sich zu. He wants to, and the same thing with the chai. The animal wants to be eaten by the tzaddik. He wants to be geshachten, right? He wants to stell to. That's why you find that when you open up a fish, the head of the fish is facing inside the stomach, not the tail. Why? Because the smaller fish wants the bigger fish to eat it. Why? Because it wants to come to a higher madrega. But by a person it's harder. Why? Because all the lower levels of creation don't have bechira, so they're all pure. They're all pure. So the natural way is that the lower level wants to stell too. But man, unfortunately, we don't always do what we're supposed to. So because of that, the lower levels aren't automatically mamsi themselves to us to make our pronos easy because of our affairs. That's how some of the pshat in this Gemara as to why. What does it mean that our ma'asim, we kept with parnasosi because the lower levels of creation don't want to come to us because they're not going to have such an aliyah by feeding themselves to us because we're not appropriate. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll be on Hashem tomorrow.
So there's a local